This video is part 4 on how I do block work, and it's mostly going to be about adjusting to make things work. And it's a storage garage, so I'm just going to show you as things go and take it from there. Now in this block job, I got it all set up so everybody knows the way the block job's going to go. I'm going to lay my 3 courses, my 12, the insulation, the brick. That's what my footer looks like. Anybody has any questions, I can answer them right here. Now what I do, I made this pattern. I know when I go right down there, this is where my footer's going to be. You see how that works? I can't make a mistake. Everybody that comes on a job knows there's my 2 8-inch blocks, there's my 12-inch blocks, and that's where my brick ledge is going to be because it's going to sink down at the bottom. So that's how you do that. You can't make a mistake. Just a little tip that I want to pass on. Now people ask me, they say, Mike, they say when you do block work, you got your corner going this way, and then you got to go down. How do you know when to start the block that way? When you look in on your ruler, right here, every block is 16 inches. There's a mark. It's right here. See that little mark? Right there. That's block work. So all I do is I pin it here. And then I go way down the other side here. Way down the other side. And I look. And right there you see 32 feet. That little mark there with the 2 triangles, that's block work. That's how I know to start a half there. So I hope you understand that. That's a little tip I'm trying to make. You see this 16, there's that 4, there's a red mark there, there's there and a 4. See, every 16 inches when you're doing block work, it comes out. So we got 4 feet here, 4 feet, we got the mark. So that's how we know we're doing block work. And then when we look at it, we know we got 3 block and 4 feet. Now let's just say, I know everybody does this different, but you have 20 feet. And you have 20 feet that you got to put block work in. How many block goes in a 20 feet line? Well, you got 3 block goes into 4 feet. So 3 times 20 is 60. And you divide it by 4. So 4 goes into 6 once. And you got 20 left. 4 goes into 25. So on a 20-foot wall, you got 15 block. So I'm going to have to do a how to estimate block work video, but that's just how I figured out. So now, as I put it in, just got to go a little tighter, and I know I'll measure up right. Coming to my end. Boom. It should fit if I was right. Not too bad. That's it. Well, try to get the block over here and it don't fit. So what do you do with an iron rod that don't fit? You bend it this way. You get up a little farther. And you bend it that way. And you make the rod fit. You see that? Every once in a while you got to do something like that. Perfect. Now we did our block work here, and then we made a little thing, and we're going to put the concrete in here. Fill this whole thing solid with concrete. Oh, we're filling the block. We do this like now we're filling the block solid. Maybe. Now here's the cement we used. And if you look at it, and you really want to see, it's basically pea gravel. It's 1B. We're not using a thick gravel for filling in. And if you're wondering how we know where all our rods was, we marked our old rods right here and we put a mark so we know when we drop these things in where they go. Now I want to explain what's going on. We filled this whole thing with concrete. Now we did it because of this reason. See the 12-inch block? And right here, that's where our brick ledge is going to go. The same thing on this side. whole building's going to get bricked, so we had to bring it back. Then we leave our corner 8. You could use a brick here if you wanted to. A 12-inch block. Now we just run our strings and go to our other block work down up there, and we're good. Now I gotta find out block work here because the bond changed. And he's way down here. We're gonna look to see where block work is, right here. So we look at this room, block work is right there. So that's at 20 feet. So I go like this. That's how I know where my block will end up. Now here's a typical example. The doorway ends right here. The block work, it's not going to work out. So every time I go to the doorway, I always start with my half. As we call it, half sash. It goes in between like that. That's pretty good. And I know my doorway, I'm going 40 3/4. They're going to put a 36-inch door there. And then I got to put a piece in here until they get to the top. So I got to put a 11-inch piece. Block work is all about adjusting. You got to make it work. So you spend, every time you get on a job, something gets changed on the job, and you got to adjust for it. That's the way it goes. So that's what I'm going to do until I get to the top of my doorway, and then I'm going to adjust again. I'm going to change the bond again. All right, I want to say something here. We're going to pour concrete. This is a big garage, and they're probably going to be coming in here with forklifts and everything. And they're going to come in and they're going to fill this all in with modified and 2B stone. But what I always do is I come up from the footer and I lay some blocks so the top of my concrete lays on here. Because just like you see when they do road work, they're going to come and they're going to tap it the best they can, and then it's going to sink. So this is an insurance policy to make sure that concrete on the corner don't sink. So I just want to point that out. Now I'm putting in garage doors. I got a 12-foot opening, and what I had to do was I laid it out dry. That's the only way. I want to come over here and look at it. Now when I started my block work out, on my corners I want to end up with a half, and I want to end up with a hole. So I had to shorten the wall, put a 12-inch piece here, and put a 12-inch piece here to make it work. So the whole point is, when you're doing block work, you got to adjust. And when you think about it, I started out wrong. I started out with a 4-inch piece. So I wanted to make sure, and I just laid the block out dry, and now I know I'm right. So block work is all about adjusting. And once you learn you have to adjust to make it work, like a magician, you're good. So I know where this ended up. Now I walk over here. You see where my block work ends up? Well, what I did was I pushed it back. And I've still got my half, and I got my hole. When I get top of the building, I'm going to move my block work in a little bit so it all works. So you have to learn to adjust. That's 90% of block work is adjusting. You want it to be looking good, and it has to be supported good. So that's the two things you look for. Now here's the doorway. I just want to point it out. I'm up 6 courses. See, I got my half and my full one. And my pieces I hide towards the corner where you're not going to notice. Over here, I got my halves, my holes, 1, 2, my halves, my holes. And I'm over there, same thing. I start off with my halves and my holes and my pieces. I hide in the corner where you don't see them. Now when I get to the top, I'm going to have to readjust everything again to make it work. So I hope you understand that. I'm doing my corner. See, I put the door wall on. And you can see where the rods come up. I got a rod here, I got a rod here. I got everything marked. And I'm gonna build my corner. I like this door wall. I'll tell you why, because I seen a foundation get washed away, and this door wall held that whole building together. And I seen another house that was built on a garbage dump, and this door wall held the whole building together. So whatever it calls for, you could go every second or third course, but I'm a big believer in it. And when I come up with my rods, everything gets tied together. When you're doing corners, always get your string and go to your end here. Make sure you're lined right up with that corner. All these blocks line up. So when you put your string on, everything's straight. Another trick is when you're doing these corners, sometimes they don't always work. Something's in the way. So put your level like this, and then all those rough edges, you'll know exactly where you're at. Now I'm putting my door wall in. I put door wall in. See, I fill my holes up in the center, and I'm filling them all anyway. When I put door wall in, I cover everything. This. I do all my joints. Then my block goes in, like so. And I fill in right there behind me too. It's the proper way, I think. Door wall could go in. Now I have my rod. Them rods are going to come straight up through here, and everything's going to catch onto that. So, same thing. Then fill in my cross joints over here. Everything gets filled in. Now, how do you know where your block's going to end up? Well, usually in the center of here you want, and you look down here and you can see the other joint. So you know that block's got to end up there somewhere. If you're behind, you push your block ahead. If you're way ahead, you tighten up your joints this way. It's no big secret. You just have to keep looking all the time. See where I ended up? Almost right in the middle of the joint. That's where I want to be. Now in this video, I'll just say a couple things about rods. This rod is going to go down there about 24 inches. Then if you want to tie it together like that, you can. Some guys don't. They just fill it and fill it solid. But we'll go so far with it, and then we get another 4 or 5 courses, 6 courses. We'll do the same thing and keep going over the top of it. This is pretty much the end of this video. I'm going to keep going with different things. I'm going to just talk about striking up. This is a professional one. This is a professional one. Some use them for bricks. This is one I just got from a piece of street key. You can use anything you want. Some guys like to use this. Some guys like to do it this way. See how that goes. And then, or you could do this. Use the back of this, the tail end of this. That kind of joints up real nice like that. See? Use anything you want. Everybody in the masonry trade is going to tell you to do it different. And then most people will say, well, some guys will tell you, well, you got to use a sponge float to get the ends down. Most guys will just brush it. But in this case here, you're going to paint it. So what I'm going to do is just use a little sponge like this and go over the sides. That's going to fill all those in, so when those guys paint it, they don't have to be addressing it. You can do anything you want. That's the point. So I'm gonna keep continuing with these videos and show you the way I do things.